Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn webinar. For those that are joining us on LinkedIn and Facebook, welcome. Please do ask questions and pop them in the comment box, which as the webinar goes on, I'm sure I will have a look and make sure that I answer them all for you. So what is today's webinar all about, I ask? Well, today we are talking about how we can become a marketing machine. Just something that we all want to know on that Wednesday afternoon. So this is where we actually go and get more leads as well as more sales, where we get new business, but also how we keep our existing business. So what is business all about? So business is all about, in my opinion, simply one thing. And it's about buying lifetime customers. Now, many of you are probably shaking your hands, shaking your heads even, and saying, no, that's not right. Most would say business is about buying a product at a low price and selling it at a higher price, or hiring staff at a certain wage and then billing them out and generating income that way. But what we really need to understand is that business is not a product or service centric. If you want a profitable, high growth business, it needs to be customer centric. So in other words, it needs to be centered around the activity of buying customers and then ensuring that you get the most lifetime value out of them. And of course, what that basically means is that we want to get high lifetime value out of them. In other words, as much repeat business or as much pound per transaction every time they're with us. But what we also need to be doing is buying that customer at the lowest possible cost at the highest quality. So in other words, sometimes you can bring your costs low, or your cost of acquiring even a customer down too far, and it brings in a low quality lead. So ultimately it will bring in a low quality customer, which then brings you a low quality of lifetime value. So what we need to make sure is that we are buying good quality customers that will bring in a real lifetime value. So in other words, people that just don't make one sale. So therefore, there's two vital numbers that we need to look at. And these are the acquisition cost and the lifetime value. So first and foremost, what does it mean and how do we measure them? Firstly, our acquisition cost that you see on the screen, well, we'll explain about that in a minute. But fundamentally, what I want to concentrate on first is the lifetime value. And I find the easiest way of doing this is to go back to your database, because we've all got that CRM system, that database, haven't we, out there in good old Facebook and LinkedIn land. And let's pick everybody, all of our customers that have that surname begins with, say, the letter D and the letter M and the letter S, okay? And then I want you to go back and look at all those people and work out how much on average they have spent with you, okay? Average it out over the number of people that you have in those letters you've chosen, and it will show an approximate average of lifetime value. So it's a great starting point. Now, acquisition costs. Now, what we've got to remember is there's two contributing factors to acquisition costs, which is basically your cost to acquire the leads and your conversion rate. Okay, as you can see on the screen, the number of leads and the conversion rate. So if you want to bring down the acquisition costs, we can do so by bringing down the cost of buying a lead, or we can bring down the cost of conversion. Now, again, I'm sure many of you are sat out there going, what on earth is she going on about? Well, here we go. So for example, what if we double our conversion? Okay. So if we have an acquisition cost, say, for example, you've paid £20 for a lead and you're converting 1 in 10, then you're spending £200. Okay. If you start converting 2 out of 10, then you're only spending £100 each. So you're, by doubling your conversion, you're decreasing your acquisition cost. And the same is true for lifetime value. The average value, the average revenue per sale and the number of transactions is a very big part of what the lifetime value is. In other words, if you increase both the number of transactions and the average value sale, then you're increasing the lifetime value of the sale. So there are two types of acquisition costs that we're going to work through today. And to understand how we use them and why we use them and what our breakdown is for each of them. So the first acquisition cost is the one that we obviously want to do more of, and that's the allowable acquisition cost. Okay, again, what does this mean? So if you look at the profit of your first average sale of a brand new customer, so this means for an average value of a sale of, say, £100, what would your profit be out of that £100? So, for example, if your profit is £20, then that's your allowable acquisition cost. So basically anything less than £20. Okay, so I'll say that again. So basically, if you're purchasing, if a customer's coming in and they're purchasing something for £100 and you have £20 profit made from that £100 sale, then your allowable acquisition cost to buy a customer is anything less than that £20. It's basically utilising the profit in that sale. And by doing that, you're creating an unlimited marketing budget for you to use. Okay. So again, what does that actually mean? Well, simply put, imagine that you're running an ad for £10 that bought your customer who spent £20. So how often would you put that £10 out there? Now, I appreciate that that's a very simple calculation, but you have to sit down and look at your business and work out what is your allowable cost of acquisition, and is it less than the profit made by the first average sale by a brand new customer. Okay, it's a great exercise to do. And so go back, this is one of my challenges for you guys today. So go back and take a look at the last 10 brand new customers. Okay, look at their average spend this month, and then on average, what is the profit out of it? And that will give you a good starting point for your allowable acquisition. Now, Brad, when he's talking about this, always talks about a story about when he had his dog food business. And basically, he fell in love with this whole strategy of allowable acquisition cost. So basically, his marketing budget really wasn't a set amount of money per month or per week. It wasn't a percentage of the sales to spend either. What it was is that he knew he had $38 profit in the first sale of every new customer. So therefore, if he could keep his acquisition cost of basically is acquiring that new customer cost below that amount, then he had an unlimited amount budget for marketing. So the only constraint that he had in his business was, could he keep up with the demand? Could he keep up with the business? How much business could he actually handle? If he could keep up with it, fantastic. But if not, then they would slow down their marketing efforts. And when you put it like that, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there kind of going, it's simple. And it's only simple if you know what your profit is from each sale. Now, the second type of acquisition cost is one that most companies, more companies use, and in a way, not because they want to, but because in a way, they don't really know what they're doing. And I don't mean that, I don't really say that lightly, okay? So an investment acquisition cost is where you're basically investing in buying a customer. Okay? And what that means is that now you're looking at your marketing budget from an investment point of view. So let's say, stick with those same numbers that I used in the previous example. So we've got a £100 sale to a brand new customer, of which £20 is profit, okay? Now with the investment acquisition strategy, it may have cost us £50 to buy that customer. So we're making an investment, okay? We're no longer just using our profit, we're using an investment. So our investment in that customer is £50. So what our challenge is to make that investment back. Now that investment could be made back in the second time they've purchased from us, the third time, the fourth time, or the 20th time. But what our aim is with an investment acquisition cost is to recoup our money, our investment back on that particular customer. So people need to understand that if every customer was profitable, then how profitable would our actual business be? Okay. What you have to think is, if you buy leads for less, then how many do I need to purchase in order to become more profitable? So when you look down, when I sit down and look at this is what kills most brand new startup businesses. And most startup businesses won't succeed because they can't handle the purchase of new customers. They don't know how many new customers they've got to purchase initially. So therefore they're struggling with doing that in their business. So what we've got to do as a new business, and those people that are starting up the businesses out there, is how many customers do you need to make that break even point? Okay, what is that break even point for you? And even if you're a business owner right now, how many new customers do you need a week or a month or even a year to break even? Okay. Another question could be, what is the number of customers you need to replace the ones that are leaving and keeping your business running at a steady level or a growth rate level per month or per year or per week? Now, all these are very powerful numbers that we need to be managing as part of our business. So if you don't know them, maybe it's at this stage that you think, well, do I need to hire a marketing manager to do that for me? And if that is what needs to be done, then let's do it, so that we can actually build our business to a point where there's really strong growth rate with tried and tested and measured marketing strategies, that we are buying customers at a really good price that allows us to make a profit up front. What we have to think about is that some businesses never even make a profit up front on a new sale. For example, McDonald's or Coca-Cola or those sort of companies. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, if you look at those companies, they buy customers by buying a hotel or a stadium or a theme park, for example, and then they become that sole supplier to that hotel, theme park, stadium. So if it's Coca-Cola, for example, you can only purchase Coke in that stadium, for example, so they're buying the rights to the customers that way. So therefore, they're never going to make their acquisition cost back in that first time that that customer goes to that stadium, but they will do back over time, okay? Because they're thinking of that customer over their lifetime value. So again, let's look at Pepsi and Cola, okay? Can anybody out there remember the choice of a new generation adverts that Pepsi ran? The whole aim or goal of those ads was to get new customers or customers to try Pepsi, okay? And the cost-wise was astronomical, but why did Pepsi run it? Well, we all know that you either love Pepsi, so in other words, you're either a Pepsi drinker or a Coke drinker. So the money spent on those ads will be paid back to them over a period of time, because once you've decided that you're a Pepsi drinker, for example, you're a Pepsi drinker for life, or you could be a Coke drinker for life. So when you're thinking, so if you look at the majority of companies out there, they're using the investment approach without knowing that they're using the investment approach. Okay, they don't realize how many times they have to get a customer back to make a profit on that customer. And this is key when marketing is concerned. So know your figures out there. How many times does that customer have to come back before you as a business start making a profit on that customer? So calculating acquisition cost, here we go. Let's get that slide up. There we go. So now we're going to start working on those numbers in our business and actually understand them, okay? So, it's very simply put. Let's say I ran an advertisement and these actual numbers are on the screen. That advertisement, we ran it for £1,000, okay, in a particular magazine. Actually brought us 10 new customers, okay? So each of those customers cost us £100, okay? But what it actually doesn't tell you is that it also brought in 90 other inquiries. So 100 inquiries. Each of them had to be dealt with, and then each customer, from that, we finally converted 1 in 10. So you have to sit down and look that the actual cost was 100 to buy. So then on average, when you're looking at this, the lifetime value of those people was actually £24,000 a piece. So it's not rocket science to work out. This is a very, very good advertisement, because if you look at the initial acquisition cost, £100 per client, it's not bad, it's okay. But actually, when you throw in the fact that each of those customers actually brings £24,000 to your business, and you look at their lifetime value, it's a brilliant strategy. And that is a clear example of why we need to know both numbers, not just the upfront, but the lifetime value. So we can evaluate the acquisition cost in regard to it. Now, again, I hope that all makes sense. If there's any questions, obviously, please do pop them in the chat or reach out to me after this webinar. So let's go in a little bit more detail about how this actually works. So let me just get everything up on the screen. Here we go. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you have an advertisement cost per contract. So let's call it a cost per lead or a cost per prospect. The cost per lead is an important number to know because you'll start measuring your conversion against it. And you need to know would be what it is, especially if you've got a long sales process. Okay. Now, with that, now you might have several hands handling costs via the lead, and that's what's up on there. So you might have a 2 or 3 step sales process where step 1 could be that you're sending one bit of kit of information and that costs you money. So that costs you X pounds. Then sending the second kit of information is Y pounds, sending the third kit and so on and so on. Now, I'm not sure of your exact numbers or how they work in your business, but what I would do on average would be to look at the cost per handle each lead from a call perspective, or if it's telemarketing or an internet perspective, if there's somebody there to someone to sit there and hit reply on leads and that sort of stuff, the cost of the information kit or whatever the information needs, it needs to be calculated into that conversion rate. Okay. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, again, what is she going on about? And I want you to think of this, and I'll use Action Coach as an example here. We have a 14-step process, okay? And at Action Coach, we know the cost for each step, and that's what you want to know and what you need to know in your business. So we sit down and we look at it. Someone who's at stage 1 of the sales process costs us X amount. But somebody who's at stage 7 of the process costs us a lot more because the conversion rate along the way or the dropouts along the way, okay? So if we sit down and look at a lead, a person who is at this stage in our business, we can say has cost us X to get that person to the stage. So let's treat them like that. A lot of people out there and a lot of business owners out there don't respect the leads that are coming into their business because they don't know the cost of that lead. Okay, so I can't stress enough to work out a cost per step or a cost per stage. And it's only then when, again, you'll start to finally understand the acquisition cost of a customer. You know, what is it costing you as a business owner to buy that customer in each and every situation? You know, and I want you to start thinking as your leads, they're sitting in your database, your leads are sitting in your database at the moment as stock. And sometimes when you think about that as an analogy, you know, so how much money have you got actually tied up in your leads that you haven't made a sale to yet? Okay. So if you were a shop owner and you were looking at your stock out on your floor, you know, you have a monetary value attached to that stock. But it's the same from our perspective with the leads that are sitting in your database. They all have a monetary value attached to them. So how much money have you got from a marketing perspective sitting there in your database ready to be converted? You know, also, how fast can we turn those leads into sales? Because a really interesting part of Action Coach and what we look at is when you start to measure conversion rates, you know, you start to measure your cost per sale, but you also start to measure the time for each sale. Okay, how long does it take from a lead coming into your business to you converting that to be a sale? Is it 2 days? Is it instant? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 6 months? You know, I mean, we know when it comes to selling a franchise with Action Coach that once it gets past 120 days, our conversion rate drops. Okay. But also if it's before 60 days, our conversion rate drops. So actually we have an ideal time frame of between 60 and 120 days. That's our ideal conversion rate. Okay. So start to work that out, you know. But why is it important? It's really important because sometimes what we recognize within our business is that the faster we make a sale, do we get a better conversion rate? Or do they become a lifetime customer, you know? Or is it a case of if we convert within, say, 4 to 8 days, that actually we're going to make more money there? So buying customers. So how do you go about buying customers? Okay, let me get this up on our screen. So firstly, set your budget. And by that, I mean, you know, basically set a budget. What do I mean by setting a budget? So basically, it's not based on 5,000 a month or 100,000 a month in advertising. Your budget is set around that acquisition cost. Okay, you work out your allowable acquisition, okay, which we went through at the beginning. So what's your profit per sale? Okay, and that is your budget. Or if you're going down that investment route because that is what your industry dictates, or that is what your business needs to do, then that's absolutely fine. Work that out as how you're going to do it. What is your budget going to be for buying customers? What is the investment that you're going to make? Okay. Then we have to work out the number that you're actually wanting to buy. So how many customers do you want to buy? You know, and it's a really interesting one because a lot of companies don't sit down and plan this. You know, a lot of companies out there are going, I want every single customer. Now, yeah, great, you know, but at Action Coach, we talk about our 5 ways figures. You know, these numbers are numbers that exist in all businesses, and we work backwards from them. So we look at what profit you want to make. And then we say, how many leads does that mean? You know, how many customers does that mean that I have? What is the average sale that they need to be coming in? How many do I need to convert? And fundamentally, how many leads do I need to buy into my business? And that is how we actually know how many new customers that you need to buy. Now, I'm quite happy to go through anybody's 5 ways with them. So please do pop your details in the chat if you want to have a quick call with me. Absolutely. And we can talk about them in more detail. Now, also, you need to sit down and say, okay, how many can we handle within our business? So in other words, if you want to buy an extra 500 customers this year, how many can you handle a month? Well, this month you can only handle 30. Well, that's great. So purchase 30, you know, we've got to deal with it that way and then gradually build it up over a period of time. You guys know your business out there, so you know how many you can handle, or a period of growth, how many you can handle from there. And then you pick strategies and offer. And as it says on the screen, we test about 12 of those strategies and those offers out there. And then we pick the best 1, 2, or 3. And this is where your marketing plan starts coming together. Okay. And we keep running and measuring. I missed number 7 on there. So marketing campaigns, and I put this on there and I just want you to think about it for a few seconds. You know, marketing campaigns, there are 3 stages to building any marketing campaign. Okay, and they need to go in this order: target, offer, and copy. Okay, and targeting is literally the most important aspect of a whole marketing campaign out there. Okay, you can have the best advertisement out there, the best copy, the most amazing article, offer even, and you'll say, for example, you're selling motorbike spare parts. Okay, but if you run that advertisement in a cosmopolitan magazine, it doesn't matter how good your offer is or how good your writing is, how good your copy is, if you're in the wrong target, it will never work. And that is why targeting is most important. Okay, and then the offer is even more important than what's written in the advertisement, because the offer will compel people to act or not to act. And these are the things that we need to look at. And then finally, as it says on the screen, copy is the last thing. The problem for most people, and we're all guilty of, is that when you start marketing, you go for reverse. So you start with the written, you know, and then they look at the offer, and then they look at the target. Okay. And it's the wrong way round. What we need to do is start with the target, then go to the offer, and then go to the copy. So let's look at it in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to pop on the screen A, B, C, and D. We all know those A, B, C's. So who is your ideal customer? Okay. And what we have to do is define what our ideal customer is. Okay. Are they an A? Are they a B? Are they a C? Or are they D? Okay. Are they A? Are they awesome customers? Do they pay their bills on time? Do they give you great referrals? Are they happy with your current pricing? They keep buying more. There's the attributes of an A grade customer. Now, a B is a basic customer, okay? They may pay the bills on time. They may be happy with your pricing. They may buy more, but they maybe don't give you great referrals, but they're still a really good customer of ours. C, I can't deal with, okay? So are they somebody that you don't really want to deal with? Or are they a D customer, a dead customer, somebody who's purchased once and they're never likely to come back? So what you need to look at your database at the moment. So what is your A grade customer look like to you? Okay. How do they work? Because you see, you need to design, you don't design your business to deal with any customers. You design your business to deal with A grade customers, or at least A and Bs. Okay. Because those are the type of customers that we want in our business. Too many businesses are designed to take on any type of customer. They're not targeting to a right type of customer for themselves. They may be looking also to include C's and D's in there. Brad always talks about a lesson that he learned from his dentist many years ago, a Dr. Patty Lund. Dr. Lund would say that he was building his business and that he learned early on that some customers made him really excited and he loved seeing them. And then other customers he actually dreaded coming in each day and working on their teeth. So actually, when he looked at his customer base, he sat down and he graded his customer. That's an A one, that's a C one, that's a D one, And who are the ones that he wanted to work with? Who are the best ones? Who are the ones that he really would be better off not having as customers? And that at that point, he realized that 80% of his business was coming actually from only 20% of his customers. And that 80% of his headaches were coming from 20% of his customers, which needed to be moved on. So Brad has done this numerous times, and another example he also uses with this kind of concept is with an insurance broker. And he examined his customers, his clients, and you realize that 80% of his revenue was actually coming from only 13% of his customers. So, what I want you to do is look at your customer base and see who is spending their money with you. Who is a good customer? Who is that A grade customer? So with this insurance broker, in the end, he decided to sell 80% of his customer base to another insurance company, and he sold that off, and it allowed him to reduce 80% of his overheads, just like that. He's still bringing in 80% of his previous revenue with 20% less of his costs. So understanding what customers we have in our business is key. So what type of customers do you have in your business? So step one of marketing and building that marketing strategy is, actually gets that, there we go. Step one of building a campaign, once we've defined our ideal target audience or ideal customers, then we need to define the 20 most profitable or sizable targets for you. What does that mean? Okay, first let's look at this from a perspective of what is your target audience. Now, every time I speak to people about their target audience, they get way too broad. They will define, like, say, a demographic for me more than a target. So for example, a clothing store, if I said to them, a clothing shop, what is your target market, your target audience, they would say something like, oh, it's women aged between 30 and 50, they're our target audience. That's not a target, that's a demographic. Okay, so there are a lot of targets and small groups that we can go after that we will and can win their business a lot better because we've targeted them very well. And we're suited to them and they're suited to us. So is it a case of, we first and foremost, so how do we do that? How do we define those little target areas, those little target markets? Firstly, we examine our existing database and the marketplace. And you can do a simple survey to ask questions of your existing market, For example, you know, your existing customers, what magazines do you read? You know, what newspaper do you read? What clubs do you belong to? You know, where do you buy your glasses from? You know, if in particular we're looking at women, you know, do you use a beautician? If so, what beautician do you use? The list can go on, but what it's actually doing is allowing us to really understand our existing customers, and then you could go to your marketplace and then sit down and really start to examine the marketplace. You know, for example, you know, for us as action coach, and, you know, forgive me for utilizing us again, you know, we talk to coaches when they first come on board, and we look at different areas for opening up as new territory. And we say, okay, let's look at the business makeup in the area. Okay, so let's, for example, imagine that we find that there's 200 car dealerships in the area. You know, well, we're then going to target that 200 car dealerships because it's a great target audience for coaching, you know. But what we may also do is find that there's a whole bunch of photographers. Well, we could target them as well. You know, if we find there's a load of insurance companies, we can do marketing just for those insurance companies. And it's not just about marketing to business owners, it's about marketing to a specific type of business owner. Okay. It's about marketing to a specific strategy or a specific way of doing business. So it's a very powerful way of building your marketing strategy based on that. Okay, and building your business on it. So therefore, those people that you are marketing to a car dealership would be very different to an insurance broker. You know? So look, I've said that there's two things. We define to the 20 most profitable or sizable target audiences. Profitable target audience is really going to be more niches, more niche markets. So these are the ones that are going to be kind of, you know, size-wise, there might be 100, 200 or 1,000 people in that market. We're not talking millions, okay? And you can go after them with direct mail or telemarketing or attending events because you'll come across them. You know, it's something in a direct form of marketing. But, you know, sizable market, what is a sizable market? You know, and for example, I've been working with an accountant and I said, who's the most profitable for you? So who's the customer that's most profitable for you? And we worked out that actually franchise companies for him were extremely profitable. So, and that is a sizable market. So when you're looking at a profitable target market, you're looking at a niche who is quite specific. Okay, so for example, like I said, you know, there's 100, 200, but when you're looking at a sizable market, there could be thousands, you know. So this insurance, you know, I was working with an insurance company, we asked the same question. And again, for them, it was farmers in the farming industry. They're the highly profitable, sizable market for them. So therefore, again, we need to market those companies, and there are different markets for different companies. Okay, so what I want you to look at is how to define and look at defining your target markets. So there's two questions we usually ask when defining your targets. So number one, we've already covered, who are the 20 most profitable or sizable target markets for you as your business. So, and the second question is how, that we now really have to ask ourselves is, where will I find them in the highest concentration? And this is where we're going to start our marketing, okay? So let's just think about that insurance guy and the farmers, okay? Where would he find them in the highest concentration, okay? Which magazines would they read? Which clubs would they belong to? You know, or another thing would be, which of the businesses are they doing business with so that he can go and piggyback with or start up a host beneficiary strategy with them. So for that, you know, farmers potentially buy, you know, crops, you know, seeds, you know, food, you know, that kind of aspect for livestock or machinery or, you know, vets, you know, so think about, you know, who potentially are they working with? Where will you find them in high concentration? So you're looking to find them in high concentration because that's where we need to get our targeting marketing working. Okay. So what we have to do now is obviously develop acquisition strategies to test for each of those target audiences. Okay, so in other words, strategies on how to get them to buy from our company, okay, from our business. So again, if you will, that insurance could be going off to farmers. Now he's going to sit down and work that out. Okay, so he could test, potentially direct mail going to the members of the club. So in other words, if he was working with the vet, could he, send a direct mail out to the vet's database? Could they test a advertisement in a particular magazine? Could they test out an email or send mail to customers of a particular business, making them an offer? Those are things that once we know the high concentration areas and where those customers are, we can look at strategies to attract them. So what we're doing is working out who are the most sizable and profitable targets, and then we're working out where we will find a high concentration or a deep concentration of those customers. Who has a client base that is your ideal target? The most profitable type of customer could be sat there right in that database. Okay, and these questions, when you find the answers to them, allows you to create a much better marketing plan. So step 2 of marketing is offers. Okay, let me get it all up on the screen. There we go. So once we have our targets, which we've covered in step 1, we're now going to look at is to create multiple offers to test for that target audience. Now, what happens here is in a lot of cases, people just make one single offer. And we often hear from business owners that I just use one offer and I never test more than one offer. So my question kind of to you guys is, if you never test more than one offer, how do you know which offer's going to be the strongest one for the particular marketplace? Which one's going to work? Which is best? And you have to think sometimes a buy one get one free offer is the best. Sometimes it's a free giveaway, and how do we define that? So let's look at the two different types of target audiences: profitable, so the niche one, and the sizable, which is the bigger target audience. Okay, so Brad always, he always refers back to his dog food business at this kind of point. So they had a profitable target audience, and for this he would say, it's the members of a dog club. Okay, so quite small. There's probably about 50 to 100 people in this dog club, and for that he would make a free offer or an introductory offer to all those people, because a lot of them because basically with the dog club, they had a lot of people that wanted to advertise with them. So he wanted to appeal, and a free offer is a great way to appeal to people. But he knew that once he gave their dogs the best stuff, the best dog food, he knew that that person would be a person for life, and the lifetime acquisition value would be great. There'd be a high spender, really good customer, and he knew from looking at his conversion that by offering a free product, they would convert them into a customer. Now, if you're going to do a sizable offer, or your targeted market is a sizable market, okay, sizable target market, then potentially you're looking at running, say, a TV advertisement or a newspaper advertisement in a general publication. If he was looking for the dog food business, you wouldn't necessarily do a free giveaway from a TV or that kind of advertisement, because it may get people that are purchasing with you that you don't want to. It's not a great offer to get people started, because the wrong type of customer potentially could take advantage of that offer. So therefore, buy one, get one free could maybe be a better one. So you need to really look at, basically, you need to look down and sit down and work out, what does this target need as an offer? So when you're looking at your marketing strategy, your marketing plan, and you've got your target markets, what would attract them to purchase from me? What offer in particular would encourage them to purchase from me? And that's when we need to create our offers, and there's 2 questions that I generally kind of ask at this point, and question 3, is building that marketing campaign even, what is that end result? What do they really want to buy? Because here too often we sit down and we look at this with people, and what happens is that they make an offer about what they're selling. Okay, so And that sounds really daft, but actually what you have to remember is it's not about what you're selling, it's about what the customer is buying, you know. And we often use this analogy in Action Coach. Nobody has ever bought a drill. Okay, what they've bought is the hole in the wall. Because ultimately people want that hole in the wall. They want to, put a screw in it, put a picture up or whatever. They don't necessarily want the drill. Okay. And it's for us, it's the same with business coaching. And that's why we always use it. People don't necessarily want to buy the services of business coach. What they want to do is buy more profitability for the business. They want to do less work and have more consistency in results. So actually, when you think about your business, what is it that people are wanting to buy? Is it that hole in the wall that actually people want to buy? And your product or your service is the byproduct of it. Okay. And that leads us to that fourth question in building a campaign, or in when you're building an offer. Why emotionally do they want to buy it? What is the emotion that's behind that purchase? And everyone has different emotions attached to why they want to purchase something, and we need to recognize that. So again, if we look at Action Coaches, one of our target audiences is family-owned or family-run businesses. They're a great target audience for us. So we do marketing to them. Now, their emotions is going to be very different to another great target audience for us, which is, for example, brand new startup businesses. So if you think about, emotion, in those two markets, what emotions do the startup businesses have in comparison to the family businesses? Well, they're entirely different, and what they want to buy from you is entirely different. So the offer has to be structured to each and every one of those, and that's how we put the offer together, because we try to understand their emotions and what they really, really want. Therefore, the offer is driven towards that, because that's what's going to drive them to take action. Okay, the right amount of emotion will drive them to take action. The wrong amount of emotion will not. It will just lead them to say, "Oh, that seems interesting," but they won't do anything about it because you're not hitting them emotionally. They're not getting to what they really want to buy. And that's where the marketing really starts to become powerful. Now, once you've got offers to test, obviously you can do that really easily these days by jumping on Facebook advertising or Google ads. You can test them really quickly and you can get the results really, really quickly, but testing and measuring them is key. Step 3 of marketing is that copy. And just put all of this on the screen. It's the fifth kind of, because once we've now got the target and we've got each offer decided, defined, we've gone through all that stages, we've now got to decide how we're going to write that copy, or we're going to write that letter, or we're going to write that brochure, or we're going to write that sales script for telemarketers. Are we going to write that advertisement or that website or that email or whatever that item is, or are we outsourcing it? Because until we actually know each target and their offer, it's impossible to work out how best to send that offer to the target audience. A lot of times we sit there and we start working on this, people really start to see how much easier it is because they've developed their marketing based on the 4 steps of developing a campaign. And by that, we look down and we say, okay, here's the target. Now, most of your, high profitable or very, really high targeted audiences will have a different strategy, So for example, they'll have a host beneficiary or a direct mail piece, or they'll have a telemarketer following up with a direct mail piece, and that's where we start to get real results because we're doing the right thing. We've tested the headlines, we've tested the offers, and we're starting, when it comes to copy, one preferred method, and I really believe in it in Action Coach, is lumpy mail. Brad always gives some amazing examples of lumpy mail that he's done. One being that, and people have, I'm sure have heard this before, is that he sent a right arm of a mannequin out to prospects with a letter saying that he would give his right arm to work with them. you know. Guess what, he got conversations with all of them, became clients, you know. We've sent love hearts out on Valentine's Day asking if people are still in love with their business. So you have to think, who am I targeting? You know, are they really high quality businesses? Is it worthwhile investing the amount of money to go after that client rather than just sending a first class stamped addressed piece of paper? You know, you really want to go after them. You know, you really want to try creative stuff, things to get you noticed. You know, Brad again, he uses an example of sending letters out on a silver platter. You know, so they went out and bought actual silver platters, and they put stuck an envelope to it. He popped it in an overnight package and it went out to people. So it arrived on their desk with a letter that was stuck to a silver platter. You know, it was their invitation on the silver platter. You know, how cool. You know, would it get you noticed? Yes, you know. But you only can do this because you have targeted offers to a niche market. You know, you're not sending it to 1 million people. You're sending it to 50 or 20 or 100 people. You know, Brad's also sent his books out, you know, saying to people, here's the book if you want to know how to do it. You know, he gets meetings with people who he's actually sent the book to. Whereas if you just sent the letter, you know, he wouldn't get the meeting. And, you know, and he's measured it. So, he gets meetings with over 20% of the people that he's actually sent the book to, in comparison to about 3% of them if he didn't send the book to. So why wouldn't you send the book? You know, there's different ways of doing it, but now because you've defined your target and you've defined your offer, you can really think about your copy, you know. So, you know, let's look back at your customer base. You know, let's sit down, let's look at where you can find that highest concentration. And now you're really starting to think like a marketing manager. So let's think about a marketing plan. And this is, I love this. Okay. So you're thinking about putting together, you know, you're starting to put together a marketing plan. And this is going to be really, you know, powerful stuff. You know, I want to talk to you about it. And I believe that a marketing plan, you know, I want to talk to you about what it should look like. You know, first and foremost, it needs to have an evaluation of the current market. You know, so what is the actual market that you're going to look at? You know, how many people are there? You know, what is the current amount that they're buying? What is it that they're buying? You know, how much spend is there? You know, what is it, the analysis of all who your potential customers are? You know, broke it down. You know, start getting the real details on them. You know, the second thing is, you know, your target audiences. So your ideal customer, your 20 customer target audiences, they're going to have to be, you know, it's the second part of your marketing plan. You know, and then we go on to the third part, is your five-way strategies. You know, so, you know, sit down and work out your 5 ways. You know, where are you going to go after, you know, people in lead generation? You know, what is your conversion rate strategies? Where are you getting your leads from? Where's your conversion rate strategies? You know, what are your number of transactions or repeat business strategies? What are your strategies for putting together the average value sale and increasing it? You know, what are your margin-based strategies? You know, and the 5 ways is so powerful because by just changing one aspect of those 5-way strategies, you can have an amazing impact on both your revenue and also your profit. You know, again, anybody who's wanting to go through that 5 ways with me, absolutely. You know, and this is where you'll take up a major chunk of, you know, of what you're doing, because it's down to kind of you know, referrals, lead generation strategies. You can't just write down referrals. You've actually got to sit down and work it out. You know, how are we going to do this? You know, and this is where your marketing plan isn't just a 1-pager. It's actually quite a lengthy document. You know, it should be in detail. You know, what are you actually going to do? You know, point 4, you know, is what should go into your marketing plan is, you know, the types of offers you're going to be able to make to people. You know, how are your offers going to be structured? You know, point 5 is a calendar even. You know, what does that mean? It's going to be a calendar of what you're going to build so you can actually run the campaigns based on the different times of the year. So what are you going to be doing and when you're going to be doing it, you know? And you might have a certain repeat business strategy that next month you might have a different repeat strategy. You know, it's looking at a calendar and saying, what am I going to do it when. You know, you might have a certain customer acquisition strategy one month and then a different one next month, depending on, you know, time frame and time of year. And building all of that into your marketing plan is so important, and it's a massive part of it. You know, point 6 comes down to, you know, your budget and the numbers, you know. So what, got to run the numbers, you know, what is the budget, what are the key performance indicators, what are all these things that are going to need to run to make sure that you have a really good you know, marketing plan, you know. So let's recap. First, you know, let's look at target audiences, you know, look at who your target audience is. Second, you know, let's look at developing those strategies. You know, we develop them, you know, we look at together, you know, your target audiences, then you go for your strategies. You know, let's look at what types of offers that you're going to use in different parts of those strategies. Then we look at making that calendar, you know, and then we look at our marketing budget. And, you know, it's kind of, what's it going to take to do all of this stuff, you know. And it's only at that point that you can potentially give this to a marketing manager to actually put it together and make this stuff work. Or are you that marketing manager? So, you know, takeaways from today, appreciate it's 1 o'clock, you know, takeaways from today. I want you to work out a system in your business to measure your current acquisition cost and your lifetime value of your customers. So sit down and work that out today. You know, maybe go back and pick that first 100 customers of your database and work out their actual lifetime value. You know, define your ideal customer. You know, sit down and work out, you know, where do they go? What do they do? What magazines do they read? All of that. Are they an A-class customer? Are they a B-class customer? Who is your ideal customer? You know, what are the traits of that ideal customer for you? What should I be looking for? What type of customer do I really want in my business? What do I want to be targeting? So if you define your ideal customer, then you will become the ideal business. Then you need to become the ideal business that would attract them. Okay. And then finally, I want you to define your 20 target audiences. So sit down and look at who those 20 targets that you want to go for. You know, who are the 20 different target customers or the target audiences that you want to go after? Sit down and examine your past customer database. So therefore, that's me, how to become that marketing machine of the business, you know. But the key takeaway is that, you know, lifetime value and how much does it cost to buy a customer. And once we start learning and looking at this, the business will go from strength to strength. You know, questions on Facebook, I will log on and I will answer them, I am sure. Please join us next week, and I look forward to speaking to you all then. Take care.